This is the Soul Expansion Soundboard, an hour of honest conversations and straightforward advice on spiritual growth, limitless creation, and enlightened evolution, with two certified spiritual coaches and soulpreneurs who understand what it's like to navigate spiritual growth in an ever-changing world. You'll be part of illuminating discussions featuring spirituality, self-development, inner healing, manifesting, and expansive creation of the abundant life you truly deserve. Now, here are your hosts, Roz Kincaid and Julian Crosson-Hill.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm your host, Roz Kincaid, empowerment coach, spiritual life coach, and I help women of color step into their empowerment and find a life of peace and balance and joy, because everybody needs a little dose of that. And of course, with me today is my co-host, Julian Crosson-Hill. Hey, Julian.
Hey, Roz, how are you? So I'm Julian Crosson-Hill. Happy to be here. I'm a spiritual life coach and human design specialist, and I help spiritually minded professionals break through limitation to create a life of fulfillment, limitless possibility, and maximized impact. And this is especially important, I find, for spiritual business owners and entrepreneurs who are dealing with finding their way and dealing with overwhelm, trying to learn everything and just grow their businesses.
Absolutely. We all need that. And speaking of growing, we're getting ready to come into 2023, y'all. I mean, we about to put a nice little ribbon on 2022. Thank God, because the shit was a doozy. And so this shit was a doozy, and I'm over it. Do you understand me? I am done. I am over it. Like, throw this shit in the trash, personally. But today we're going to be talking about making that shift into the new year, new energy, fresh energy, a fresh environment. And listen, I was in the shower in my little meditation time, because that's where I kind of like, it's where it happens for me, right? And I was thinking about this topic, and I have been like for probably since like October. And what I've been dealing with personally, that I think that a lot of people are gonna be able to relate to, is learning how to manage that inner critic and stepping into your higher self. First of all, you gotta know who he or she is. Who they is. Yes, they is. And being able to talk shit back when your ego gets to kicking up and wants to hop in the driver's seat. Because for me personally, and even business wise, I have had to face a lot of fears. I have had to come to terms with some truths that I was afraid to admit about myself, about my life, about how I'm approaching life, how I'm showing up in life. And this led to like a review for me, not so much of oh, these were my goals, I hit these goals this year, but lessons, getting the wisdom out of 365 days of 2022 and figuring out, what am I going to be able to carry forward, what am I going to be able to do differently than I did this year. How do I need to be going forward? Because this shitty ass feeling that I felt pretty much of all of 2022, I don't want to feel like that again. I don't want to feel like that again. So we have to get a hold of the vision, carry the wisdom forward, and start taking action to be what it is that we are trying to be, to overcome what it is that we're trying to overcome, to put some action behind all this daydreaming that we do. And allow the ego to be, but damn, don't let it to take control of the whole situation. Don't let it just become this monster, because you do realize that your ego is like it's you at 7 years old. 7-year old still tantrum, from what I see. From what I know 5-year-olds do. And if you think that part of your psyche is not gonna kick up when you start to step into something new and say, wait, but we're good over here. Why you doing that? Why you want to be over here doing that and doing something different? They're gonna talk about you. The whispers, right? It's the whispers. And that is only to keep you safe. That is only to keep you from stepping into who you're becoming, because all of the world is about to get up on this upgrade. Like, whether y'all know it or not, we getting ready to upgrade. And I'm not trying to create any kind of sense of fear in people, but if you have not been doing the work, you need to start. You need to start somewhere. And taming that ego, allowing it and listening to it and taming it and sitting that motherfucker in the corner is a great place to start. At least that's where I'm starting, or continuing to work.
Well, I think what's really coming up for me, you talked about looking back on 2022, and I think that's a natural human process. We start to reach the holidays, and December's kind of a whirlwind for most of us. It's busy. We got a lot of things to do to make Christmas happen. And then after Christmas is done, we really go into this sort of reflective period, and where we really start to look at the past year, and we start to think about what goals did we meet, what didn't work out for us, what friends did we gain and lose, what situations did we have that didn't satisfy us. And of course, I'm not even getting into New Year's resolutions yet. I'm just talking about the way that during that sort of liminal period between Christmas and New Year's, where we've kind of come off of this wave of almost frenzied activity for the holidays, and now we're in this sort of liminal period where it's not quite the new year, the holidays are over, some of us have time off, work's not as stressful, things are kind of slowing down. We really have a chance to start to reflect and look at the past year. And 2022 was a difficult year for me, at least. I know, Roz, you described sort of 2022 as being like you were done with it, ready to move on. I don't necessarily feel that badly about it. It was a difficult year for me in my business, and I definitely learned a lot of things about myself and about my business, and I sort of found some new direction. But I think it's natural that when we're looking at our year, when we're reviewing, to allow that inner critic to come up, and also to make a lot of assumptions. And what I mean by that is we make a lot of assumptions about the situations that we review and what we know. And I hate the word know sometimes, because have you ever been in a conversation and you're trying to tell someone something and they say, I know. They're basically brushing away whatever you're trying to say. They're canceling it out. It's not really sinking in. And we do the same thing when we assume what we know about certain situations. So as we're looking back on our life, over the past year, and we're thinking about the things that didn't work or the goals that we didn't achieve, we immediately think that we know why that is, and we jump to conclusions. We also make the same kind of assumptions about our interactions with people. So maybe there was a friendship that fell apart in the year. And probably in that situation, we made some assumptions about the other person's intention and their motives and their actions, because we don't know what was going through that other person's mind. We don't know what they were feeling in that situation. And maybe we took action based on assumptions that actually made the situation worse. And so I think the challenge is to look back over the year with sort of that beginner's mind of trying to learn from the experiences of the past year and not assume that we already know what caused those experiences or what we were supposed to gain from them. And also releasing those assumptions that we make about other people. I mean, when we stop assuming that we know things about other people, that's really the definition of grace. when we approach other people with a beginner's mind and just try to understand where they are and what they're thinking. And so, if we can show grace to other people and grace to ourselves and approach reviewing our year as a complete beginner, like we have no idea why this shit happened, we had no idea why we didn't meet our goals, but let's approach it from a blank slate, letting go of what we think we know, and really get clear about what lessons did we learn over the year, and where do we, and then from those lessons we can start to chart the course forward. Where do we want to go next? Okay, Roz, what you got?
Yeah, I had to make a little note. Had to make a little nutty note. You talked about extending grace to other people and not making assumptions about why somebody did not do something or said something. I think that, you know, we got to start with ourselves and not make these assumptions about ourselves. You know, especially when things didn't go according to the plan or the goal or the aspiration, and not, you know, putting yourself in this position where you're, you know, dogging yourself and piling on this guilt and this shame for things not happening, or or things that did happen. Like, don't automatically assume that it was your fault, or that you're a bad person, or you're a bad friend, or, you know, or even you know, I talk about boundaries a lot, and I'm starting to feel like a little bit of something in the air from other people about setting boundaries. But you can't assume that you setting a boundary, somebody's reaction to you setting a boundary or drawing a line in the sand, or no, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not allowing this, or I'm not available for this or that, is you, right? Like, you can't, we have to stop taking responsibility for other people's reactions and responses, and making them our problem, and make not so much our problem, but making them our fault, right? Or making anything our fault. Yes, we have responsibility. Yes, we have accountability. Yes, all of that. But at the same time, don't go pinning the tail on the donkey and you're the donkey. Don't be the donkey. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. Like don't take don't down yourself, and show grace to yourself. Like, even though I want to take this whole year and throw it in the trash and not remember it for the rest of my, you know, human experience, there are things that did happen that I can learn from, and that I can take as teachable moments and do better going forward. Do better, you know, starting not even January 1, but allowing myself to have a longer rest period, a longer period of reflection, allowing myself to allow feeling and thoughts and downloads to come through, and not be so quick to move on things until I feel like I have the clarity and the right direction about where to go, how to move, who to connect to, you know, who to let go of, all of that stuff. So, one, don't be in a rush to be jumping and doing stuff. I mean, you got plenty of time. But also, give yourself some grace. Like, you are a human, and we got to get used to being in this humanness, which means that we are flawed and we are going to make mistakes, right? And we're going to do things, you know, differently than other people, or than we typically would ourselves. But at the same time, it's like, damn, give yourself a break, man. Like, you're learning. Just because you're 35, just because you're 40, just because you're 50, 60, 72, that does not matter to spirit. What matters is this process of refinement. And if you are always throwing shit into the refinement process, meaning the self-criticism, the self-doubt, the tearing yourself down, the limiting beliefs that you have, if you're constantly plugged into that, then what do you think you're going to get? Like, you get what you give. The universe is going to give you back what you give to it. And so don't be so hard on yourself. Like, look at what has happened and transpired throughout 2022 and make a note and make the intention to do better, to be better, to be enough. Whatever that is. Like, you get to define that. You have been empowered to define what the rest of your life gets to look like, and nobody can take that from you unless you give it away. That's what was coming up for me when you spoke about grace and assumptions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what I'm talking about is not assuming even that like in the things that we did, right? The mistakes that we made and the lessons that we needed to learn, we can approach them with the idea of I know, right? I know why this went wrong. I know why my business didn't grow this year. I know why I procrastinated doing these things. But do you really know, or do you want to learn? And if you want to learn, you have to approach them from beginner's mind. You have to review your year with a more objective view. You have to get to the 10,000-foot view and get sort of unattached from some of the strong emotions around this whole review and reflection process, and sort of look at it from a very beginner perspective. Like, I don't know why this stuff happened, but let's explore it. And that's going to give you greater insight into the experiences that you had over the year and the lessons that you needed to learn. You talked about setting the intention for the new year, and I love that you went there, because New Year's resolutions, right? There's a lot of pressure to go make resolutions and you're going to be a whole new person on January 1st, right? And so many people fail at New Year's resolutions. And so I love the word intention, because what if we just set an intention to be better or to be enough or to do something differently in the new year, and not put so much pressure on ourselves to suddenly January 1st, we've got to be this perfect person who exercises every day and doesn't eat any carbs and all of this stuff that we do, because we set ourselves up for failure with these New Year's resolutions. And for most people, we don't make a sudden 180 in our lives. That change doesn't happen that way. It's usually more incremental. And so we set these goals where we're setting ourselves up to fail. And with that, we're bringing judgment on ourselves about, oh, I can't even stick to a diet. I can't exercise. And it's because we set such a poor expectation to begin with. Let me give you a couple of examples that I hear from clients and friends and people that are setting these New Year's resolutions. So first of all, restrictive diets. People set themselves up to fail with these restrictive diets. They go on these super restrictive diets and they fail at them. They fall off the wagon one day. They eat something they shouldn't have eaten based on this restrictive diet that they shouldn't have eaten. And then they throw the whole diet out. They chuck it all out and they start to beat themselves up and get into self-judgment and criticism about what a terrible person they are. They're always going to be fat. They're always going to be this. They're always going to be that, because they set themselves up to fail to begin with. So find, if you want to, if your New Year's intention, and I'm not going to use the word resolution, is to lose weight, find a sensible approach to it, not a restrictive diet that sets you up for failure. Find something sensible. Count your calories and maybe try to trim a few hundred a day. And listen, the reason a lot of diets fail is because we like sweets. We like to indulge. And if you don't create space for indulgence in your program, you're going to fail at it. So allow yourself to have the treat. Just count the calories, make up for it somewhere else. And someday have your cheat day. You've got to it's really about creating a new lifestyle for yourself based on your intention, than going on a restrictive diet for the new year and setting yourself up for failure and then getting into this cycle of self-judgment. Same thing with exercise. People make these New Year's resolutions around exercise. And of course, for the first week of the new year, the gyms are all packed. And then by the middle of January, they're like ghost towns. And the reason that this happens is that, again, people set themselves up for failure by setting a goal that they can't meet. So they set this goal that they're going to work out and go to the gym every day. And then the first day that works just a shit show, and they're tired, and they come home and they collapse onto the couch and watch Netflix because their day just has taken it all out of them. They fall off the wagon of exercise. They don't go the next day, or the next day they view it as they've blown it, and they start to beat themselves up. I can't stick with anything. I don't have discipline, all of these things. And again, they've set themselves up for failure, because life is going to happen. There's going to be days that you can't get to the gym because shit happens. And so set an intention that's more realistic for yourself. Set a goal around your intention that you can actually live up to. Start with, if you don't go to the gym at all right now, don't be like the first week, starting January, I'm going to go every day. Be like, I'm going to go twice a week, right? Start easy, like ease yourself into it. You don't have to make a 180-degree turn just because it's January 1st. Okay, Ross, I know you. I can see your face. You got something to say on that.
Listen, you are on Roz Kincaid Drive right now, because she is the queen of team too much, of doing too much, and having all of these little open-ended things going on. And what I wrote down is we have to stop trying to do too much at one time, because, and here's how you know it's doing too much. It feels like too much. It feels like there are no pockets of rest. And y'all, what Julian is talking about can apply not to just going to the gym or eating habits or diet, but it can also apply to things like meditation practices, changing of behavior, changing the way you think, changing your
Yes.
inner talk, your inner conversation, creating any kind of spiritual practice. Like, you can't listen if you have not meditated in a quite a while, and you want to start back meditating. Like, January 1 is not going to be the day, or any day thereafter is not going to be the day where you bust out with an hour meditation. You hear what I'm saying? Like, that ain't gonna win you anything. We are going to have to, and please know that I'm talking about me included, right? Because I'm gonna go back and watch this and listen to myself, talk to myself. We have to start small.
Yes.
Take a spoonful and start small. Like, you have this big goal that you want to attain, but you're gonna have to eat that joint with a spoon. Now, I just so happen to have a spoon over here because I was drinking tea. But you get what I'm saying. You are going to have to start small, because y'all trying to make these quantum leaps with your life and with your intentions. And it's not working by taking this big leap across this chasm. And you don't have plan the first. You don't even know what you're doing, how you gonna get there. You haven't thought about it. You haven't contemplated it. You just jumping out there. And I know what I'm talking about because I've done it. I've done it a few times. And so that means that we have to pull back, throttle back a little bit, and take this thing one step at a time, and hover, work that step. Work that step until you can get consistent with it, get confident with it, and then move on to the next thing. We're trying to do too damn much. We have too many things going on at one time, too many plates in the air. Like, we have to take some of that stuff down and focus and work on this one thing at a time. And so, if that means that you don't cuss nobody out for 5 minutes, do that. If you take a break from social media for an hour, start there. It doesn't matter. Ain't nobody looking. Nobody's paying attention. And that's the other thing too. You think people are paying attention, but nobody's really paying attention. And if they are, they need to be paying attention to themselves. Everybody needs to start paying attention to themselves and stop worrying about what you're doing. And you need to stop worrying about what other people are doing and start focusing on yourself and do things incrementally, because you will gain a bigger shift and get a bigger win if you just start small. No, I don't know any athlete that starts out winning a championship. Michael Jordan himself took a L as one of the greatest basketball players. You're gonna take some L's and you're gonna take a loss here and there, but you have to start small. Nobody just jumps to, nobody wakes up being great unless you Beyonce, but whatever. She's on another planet, but hey. But start small, and when you start small, keep working that one small step, because when you work that one small step, not only are you building confidence, but you are refining. I feel like I see in my mind like this refinement process. The more you do it, the better it gets, the more efficient it gets. The more you work that one, it gets better and better and better, and you're able to carry what you know forward. And now you created space to add something else. Maybe you make a monthly goal or a weekly goal or a daily goal. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I need to take my own advice. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you think about a goal as a journey, right? You're trying, goals over here, you're over here, and you're trying to get from point A to point B. Some of y'all are trying to teleport and wondering why you're not getting there. Just walk. You can get there by walking. Just take a step at a time. And I think that's really the important thing, because we set these New Year's resolutions and then we set ourselves up to fail. And then, of course, when we do fail, which everybody knew we were going to when we set out on it, we beat ourselves up. Suddenly it's about our value and our worth, and whether we're a good person or not, and whether we're enough. And so we beat ourselves up. We get into this very self-critical loop around this. So as you're reviewing your year, rather than trying to set resolutions, I think it's helpful to set goals and intentions for the next year that are broader strokes. And you can because sometimes, a year, a lot of shit can happen in a year. We don't always know what we're going to need to do in the year. So, I'm going to set goals for my business, but 3 months in, something may happen that completely changes the direction for my business. And I may need to shift those goals a little. I might need to narrow them down, or I might need to make them broader. And so think about the broad strokes. What do I want to do next year? And then start to think about, what do I need to do in January to get there? What small step can I do in January or the first week of January to get to this goal that I have for 2023, and take it a step at a time? Because, the other thing about this is, if you think about this goal as a journey and you're trying to get from point A to point B, depending on how far that goal is, you can't always see the whole road ahead. So you can't plan the whole path out in advance. You got to plan how you're going to get the next 100 feet down that road. And then you can see the next section of road and decide what you need to do next. So take baby steps and set your goals in broader strokes. I know that we often think about SMART when we think about setting goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. But when you're thinking about a year, SMART kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. And I think sometimes there's a lot of unknowns when we think about where we want to go with our business, where we want to go with our career, where we want to go with our meditation practice or our exercise routine or whatever. And so we can set SMART goals, but think of the SMART goals as the baby steps. Set small ones, but then have a broader intention of where you're heading that you allow to evolve as you learn, because you don't know right now. And if we're approaching our goals and our intentions for the new year from beginner's mind, we're allowing ourselves to learn about our goals as we move towards them through the year. So use the SMART goal process to set the baby steps, and then look at the goals as larger intentions.
I like that, Julian. I especially like what you said about how setting or using the SMART, SMART approach to setting goals, that can fall apart. And and that necessarily isn't a bad thing, because there's always a course correction that's happening. And I think that by leaving room leaving room for the unknown, like you don't need to know, like for y'all that still follow the Bible, the Bible says we know in part. We only know only part of it. Even people who are spiritually gifted and are psychics and mediums, we only know what spirit is giving us. We don't know the full picture. And that applies to everybody, because when we all have spiritual gifts and we're all connected to source, and all of that. But you have to leave room for the unknown, because in the unknown, in the gray areas, that is where you get to be led. You get to be taken by the hand, by your guides, your loved ones, source itself, the universe, the owls hooting in the trees outside. You get to be led by all of that, and you don't need to know everything, because if you knew everything, you pull the plug. I mean, at least I would. I got to go through that to get to there. Yeah, you do. And so you only know in part, and sometimes the whole, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timeliness of your goals falls apart, because there's the course correction, because what you're doing is connected to somebody else. What they're doing is connected. It's all connected. And what you need is going to be dependent on somebody that you don't even know, see, haven't met yet. And so there are things that are working in the ethers, in the background on your behalf. Like, you don't need to worry about that, right? Like when the kids went to the chocolate factory, like they got a special tour of the inner workings of how they got this candy bar. All they knew was, I got this nice ass candy bar, but now that I see the inner workings of that, what goes on, like, shit, I'm terrified. Like, get me off of this boat. Y'all remember the boat scene in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where it was all crazy? Like, if you knew that, would you even go down this path? No, you would not. So you don't. There are things that are happening behind the scenes. There are things happening with your phone. There are things happening behind the scenes at work. Like, you don't need a behind the scenes look at everything, because there's always something working. But so you got to leave room for that and let God be God and the universe be the universe, and just be led. Because that takes pressure off of us. That's what I wrote down. That pressure to reach that goal comes from needing to know everything, needing to overthink everything, needing to know what the next move is. And listen, the truth is, you're not gonna know everything. You are not going to know everything. There's no need in you trying to assume. And the way that you take that pressure off yourself is to just allow yourself to be led, allow yourself to tap into your God-given abilities, to just be led and to hear, to see the signs, all of it. And I think also we would all benefit by taking some time to reflect on, why am I feeling so pressured to get this done? Why am I feeling so pressured to do it this way? And I think a lot of what we're missing is we don't allow it all to be there. I know I didn't. I didn't start allowing it all to be there until the back half of this year. And what I'm talking about is the fear, the criticism, the judgment, the shame, the disappointment, the failure, the success, the comparison. All of it gets to be here. And when you allow it all to be here, and have a seat at your table, not at the head of the table, but a seat at your table, you get to start asking some questions and start gaining some insight about what can be done differently, where you can make some tweaks and changes, so that you don't have to feel pressured. Like, we got to start balancing our actioning with time of sitting still. We have to start making time to sit still. Yesterday I was in a group, on a group call, and our coach told us, you have to make time to just receive. There's a lot of integrating and upgrading that's going on that we can't even see, but we feel it in our bodies. and to not allow ourselves to be in stillness and quiet and just receive and restore, and be in all of this actioning, that's how you get burnt out. That's how you miss critical key parts that you can carry forward, and that's how you miss the answer to a lot of this stuff, because you're not still enough. And I know, and I hear it in my ear right now. Somebody's saying, well, I'm always still and I still don't get anything. Well, are you forcing it in your stillness? Are you trying to like pull in something that all you need to do is just lay there, sit there, and just be still and receive it by osmosis? Literally osmosis. Just sit your ass down, stop asking a bunch of questions, and just be still and hear and receive and feel. You'll get there faster if you take it slow, says the song.
So a couple things that brings up for me. I made a few notes here. So first of all, I'm not listening to those sneaky owls in the tree. Okay. Right. No, I'll listen to the crows, but not the owls. I draw my line at the owls. So I think what you're really saying, Roz, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, is when we're setting our goals, when we're setting these intentions, we can only set them based on the possibilities in the quantum field that we're currently aware of, or that we can be aware of because of our story, our belief, our unconscious beliefs, all of these things that affect our ability to see possibility in the quantum field. And that's also why psychics really, when they're looking at the future, they look at the future if you continue on the path you're on, right? If you don't make any changes, if everything stays static, which we know it doesn't. We have free will. We can change the future. We can choose to see other possibilities in the quantum field, and that's going to impact our intention and our goals as we move towards them. As we move towards our goal, we start to learn new things. We start to rewrite some of our story and our personal narrative, and we begin to see new possibilities out in the quantum field. And suddenly it's like, I don't want that. I want this other thing that suddenly opened up in the quantum field as a possibility we didn't know we had. And then I think the other thing that Roz was talking about was the experience of co-creating reality, because often we co-create with other divine beings, other people. We meet people through networking or friends, or different things happen. People come into our lives and they influence the possibilities in the quantum field that we can see. People inspire us to look at things differently, or we see people doing certain things and we're like, oh shit, I was doing that too. I don't want to do that anymore. And so our interactions with other people create this non-localized co-creation that allow us to see greater possibilities for ourselves and for our life in the quantum field that we couldn't see before. And so keeping that openness to be willing to shift the goals or to shift the intention based on the possibilities that are in the quantum field that you're aware of as new possibilities open is what's really going to allow you to move through life in a way that is being pulled and led, that's really being guided by, in human design, what we call the magnetic monopole. We could also call it our soul or our higher self, but it pulls experiences and possibilities and people and opportunities to us based on what we need to learn and accomplish in life, based on our soul's desires. And as we're going towards these goals and our magnetic monopole is bringing things towards us, suddenly new possibilities are opening up in the quantum field, and we may suddenly decide, oh, I need to do a little course correction here. The other thing I want to kind of comment on that Roz talked about, because I think she had a lot of great stuff in there in what she was saying, is about the pressure. Because pressure, a lot of us feel pressure around our goals. We feel like we have to lose that 30 pounds by summer. We feel like we have to make a certain amount of money by next month. We feel all of this pressure. And I think that pressure is often a signal that something's not quite aligned with the goal that we're working towards, because pressure gets us into that area of should and have to, which we know is really about conditioning. So when we're feeling that pressure, we really need to stop for a minute and ask, whose pressure is this? Who needs this to happen in this time frame? Is it really me? Is it my ego? Is it my soul? Or is it even not originating in me? Is this someone else's pressure? Who's telling me that I have to lose 30 pounds to wear my swimsuit this summer? It's probably not myself. I mean, sure, we can lose weight because we want to, because we are doing it for ourselves. But most of us are being motivated by other people's expectations on us. And we can say no to that. We can say no to social conditioning. We can say no to accepting other people's expectations, blame, fear, and judgments on our lives. And so, pressure to me is a signal that we need to look deeper into why this goal is important to us and why the time frame around this goal matters to us.
Yeah, definitely. Leaning into that pressure, finding that those answers, digging up the root cause, going back to family values, belief systems, and understanding like where does all that come from? Why do I feel such resistance? Like there's a message in the contrast, right? Like the contrast is there for a reason, and nine times, most of the, not most of the time, 100% of the time, it's trying to get your attention because it wants to transmute, it wants to transform. Your mindset wants to be different, and when it's met with something as limiting as, for example, I'll take the example that you use. I got to lose 30 pounds before I go on this vacation, or I got to lose 30 pounds, period. Okay, well, says who? If your doctor didn't indicate to you, if you don't lose this 30 pounds, your health is in jeopardy, then there comes the question, well, where is this coming from then? Why do I feel like I have to lose 30 pounds? What am I exposing myself to that is sending me the message that something is wrong with my body, the way I look? Not just,
Yeah.
is it how I feel? Do I not feel good with this 30 pounds on me? Or is somebody telling me that I need to shed more weight to fit some beauty standard that ain't even realistic? Like even models have to like be restrictive about what they eat to fit into the clothes that they wear. Like you just become a hanger. Like what is that resistance about? And sitting down and evaluating, even going back from childhood, evaluating, the conditioning, the values, the traditions, even, and looking at those and picking out the ones that don't fit anymore. It's like you outgrow those, like you outgrow a pair of shoes. You, just because you're not a kid doesn't mean you don't go through growth spurts and you have to change clothes or go up a size or come down a size. Like you still got to do that with your life, with your spirituality, with your soul. Like there's a constant shedding that has to happen in order to transform and grow. Like what y'all think we doing here? What do you think that we're doing here on earth? What do you think being in human form is about? It's not about, we on vacation. We are here to grow. We are here to transform. We are here to close the gap between human self and higher self, to become more, to be, to vibrate at a higher vibration, to think differently, to see a different perspective, to affect change upon the world, to get it to rotate and spin a different way. And that all starts with those contrasts, those resistances, those that pull, that something is not right and something's not aligned. So pay attention to that, because it's gonna keep tapping you on your shoulder and poking you in your side, until you give it some attention and sit down and either write about it, process it through in your mind, reflect on it, and choose to do something differently about it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I just want to sort of reiterate what I think the ideal process is for shifting into the new year. I think first of all, there's a period of reflection. and reflecting from beginner's mind, letting go of what you think you know about the situations that happen in the year and looking at where you've been and where you're trying to go. And then thinking about the intentions and goals with broad strokes for the next year and setting baby step smart goals for the first month, the first 3 months, whatever it is. And I think the other part of it is about not being afraid to pivot. And this is especially important if you're a spiritual entrepreneur. You need to be thinking about your business and really looking at what's working, what's not working. Am I continuing to do this for the wrong reasons? If a social media isn't really bringing you joy and it's not really bringing you customers, why are you still doing it? Maybe it's time to pivot to something else. Maybe it's time to think about another way to get your message out. If you're working at a certain niche and you're doing a lot of messaging and you've tweaked your message multiple times and things don't seem to be working, maybe you need to look at that niche. Maybe there's a slight tweak or a pivot there that you can do that's going to make it more relevant to your ideal clients. So reflection is going to be really important, but then that openness to pivot, I think, is really what we're talking about in a lot of ways here. Is rather than setting these hard goals that are big all at once kind of efforts for the new year, being open to pivoting as needed, as new possibilities open up for you, and then setting goals around the baby steps to get you there. And then as you accomplish each baby step, you're looking at, where can I pivot now? What's possible that wasn't before I took this baby step? And where do I want to go with that? And I think that will give you a process for shifting into the new year that's going to support you moving forward in the direction that you want to, allowing you to stay open to being led by new possibility, and also relieve a lot of the expectations and blame and fears and judgment that come up around this whole process of reflecting on the past year and setting these goals or resolutions for the new year. It's going to remove all of that for you and allow you to move into the year with a lot more self-love and a lot more grace and a lot more expansiveness, which is just really about kicking off the new year in the right sort of energetic note, right? The right energetic frequency for the new year.
Yeah, having some self-compassion, I would add to that as well. Is gonna, serve you best. Um, I know we've said it multiple times, but not doing the blame game and like stabbing ourselves and blaming ourselves and shaming ourselves. Like even I'm having a shift in perspective just based off of this conversation that, yeah, it wasn't the greatest year, okay? Wasn't the greatest year, but I could learn some things and I could be compassionate towards myself because I tried. I tried, and that's really all you can do. You can set some type of plan, try your best, and then regroup and carry on forward in a better way, and not like come into the new year hating the world. And I promise you, I don't hate the world, but I do feel it. but I do feel it, and we're allowed to have our feelings, but even what is that about? That's always my question. Well, what's that about? What's going on with that? Why, what is making you feel that way, and what can be done differently going forward, and giving yourself some breathing room to switch it up and just being flexible. Like I think part of the issue with like having this sense of failure is that we plan things out too tightly. um
Yeah.
we try to plan to the smallest detail, like down to the minutia, and it doesn't leave any room for course correction, for flexibility, for somebody to come in and just bless your life in unexpected ways, because you're white knuckling the steering wheel where you could just be resting your wrist
Yeah.
and coasting, like again, just back off and yeah, like shift your perspective. I'm shifting mine as we speak, or I'm being asked, invited even, to shift my perspective and say, hey, look at this a different way. Look at 2022 a different way, and start to cast vision on the next year, even the next couple of years, if you can, see that far, um, in a different way. Like, what is the overall theme? What is the overall intention for the coming year? And then start breaking that thing down by the month, by the quarter, even by the week if you need to. Again, like Shanna has said, baby steps. You got to take baby steps and eat it a spoon at a time. Do it a spoon at a time. Just do it a spoon
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great discussion, and I think if we can shift Roz's perspective with it, it's definitely going to work for you too. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, how can you work with me? So, if what I talked about here today really inspired you, and you're like, wow, that would really help me, I offer one-on-one coaching to remove those limitations to help you step into having your biggest impact. And I especially work with spiritual entrepreneurs to tap into their sufficiency and feel like they're having enough and doing enough and knowing enough and being enough in their business so that they can move forward in a very successful and aligned way for themselves. So you can find out about my one-on-one spiritual coaching at www.priestofenana.com. I do offer a free 45-minute clarity call where we can just talk about where you are, where you're trying to get, and what's getting in your way, and figure out if coaching is going to really help you move forward and if it's going to be a right fit for you. So check that out, and hope to hear from you and work with you to help you remove some of those blocks.
Yeah, and if you're interested in working with me, let me explain again that I work with primarily women of color, right? I work with women of color to help them step into their empowerment, to see empowerment in themselves, to see a representative of empowerment in themselves, so that you can experience that freedom and that ease and that peace. Because as women of color, we have a lot of stereotypes and a lot of familial pressure and ancestral pressure on us to do well, not fail, be great, be your best. We carry that for a generation of people, and that can weigh on us, and we can get stuck in these mindsets and limiting beliefs and lose ourselves and give up our power to make other people happy. And I know that is, not you. It happens to all women, but it's very unique for women of color, right? And I am here to be that representative, that you see yourself of an empowered person, understand how to step into empowerment. And if you are ready to take back control of your life, take back authority and agency, make decisions from an inner guidance, a higher source, then I invite you to book a call with me, book a reading with me. Let's sit down together, have some tea, have a conversation, me, you, and spirit, and find out what is limiting you, what is holding you back, what is keeping you from feeling empowered, being empowered, and showing up empowered. And even in being empowered, it doesn't negate you from asking for help. That is being empowered, knowing that you are struggling and need help, and you ask for help. So again, if you'd like to work with me, let's start with a reading. Let's start with a clarity call. You can book that at my website, www.roskincade.com. My name, very simple. And I look forward to helping you get clear and giving you some clarity, helping you find what the next right step is for you in 2023 and beyond, because things are shifting. We are all upgrading, and I don't want anybody to be left behind if I can help it. Okay, so let's don't be left behind. Let's get this shit clear. Book a session with me. I'm here for you.
All right. So our next show, Roz and I won't be live on Friday, the 30th of December. We're taking a week off to reflect and be still for ourselves. So we will be playing a pre-recorded year in review of the Soul Expansion Soundboard, some of the greatest clips from our shows. We'll have a recorded message for you as part of that. So tune in and see that. And then we'll be back live on January the 13th and again, continuing to be live every other Friday. So have a very happy and safe holidays with you and your loved ones. And we will see you in the new year.
Absolutely. Be safe.
Bye.
Rest well, everybody. Bye.
This has been the Soul Expansion Soundboard. Join us live every other Friday.